Hey guys, welcome back to Object Store Part 2 video. In this video, I'm going to explain MuleSoft Object Store custom configuration. Okay, so I have already created part 1. In part 1, basically, I have explained uh, all of what is Object Store, why we need Object Store, and how to do Object Store. And I have also explained how many operations we have in Object Store. So this video, I'm going to explain the basically object store configuration setting. What are those setting when we are going to define those setting? How exactly those are play a role of basically play a role of custom configuration. So I'm going to explain all. So in my if I show you in my basically first video part one, I have not explained any kind of custom configuration for the object store. Okay, and I have also not used a custom configuration object store as my all operations having object store configuration reference null. So as you can see that here it is null. Let me show you for contains as well. It is null. Null means I have not defined the object store configuration. It is not null, but I have not defined any object store configuration. For all operation, it is defined as empty. Okay, for retrieve all, as you can see that all empty. So this all operations I am using are basically MuleSoft object store configuration. So if I don't define any object store reference, so there are MuleSoft object store default configuration is going to be applied. Okay, but if we have a project, where we have defined, where we have to use those configuration, so I'm going to explain you why we need those configuration, and if we need those configuration and how we can do that. So let me show you first what our configuration we have in the object store. So these are the basically setting parameter we have in the object store. So let me explain what is that entry DTL. So basically it's a timeout setting for the key. Okay, when we are basically defining a value uh, as an entity TTL, for example 10 second, so it's a basically a timeout setting for a particular key. After this time is expired, so key is marked as TTL expired. Time to live, how much time the key is exist, or how much time the key is live. So this is a entity TTL. Okay, so if we are not defining entity TTL or it is absent, then there is no boundary, the key is not going to be expired. And the entity TTL unit is nothing but your time unit. Like you can define those entity TTL unit as basically default setting is second, but we can define day, hours, microsecond, millisecond, minutes, and nanoseconds. Okay, so this is basically entity detail. I have expired. What is that? It is a time to live for the key. Okay, so how many key we are going to store? Those keys, if we define entity detail, so those keys having entity detail means what is the time that key are exist. Okay, or what is the key, or basically what is the time that key are live. Okay, after this particular time is expired, then key marked as TTL expired. Okay, yeah. So as I have explained what is entry TTL, let me explain expiration interval. Okay, expiration interval is the time when your actual key is going to be deleted. And what kind of key, or what the key is going to be deleted? The key which entity TTL is expired. So we can say that expiration interval is a thread running on defined time. When we are going to define basically, let me show you. So this is also having a custom setting like expiration interval time, and what is a basically unit. So as you can see that here I've defined like 1 minute. So every 1 minute this expiration interval thread is running. Every 1 minute this expiration interval thread running, and it will check how many key the entry TTL is expired. Okay, it is check how many key entry TTL is expired, or it is also check if we define a max entry, it will check that if number of keys are stored beyond the max entries. Like for example, if we define max entry 2, but we have stored a 5 max entry, So it will basically delete the all old max entry, and it will be all it will delete all old keys, and it will consider the latest keys based on the max entries number of defined. Like it is defined 2, we stored 4, so it will delete the old 2 keys and it will only save 2 keys, because as we have defined max entries 2. So what is the expiration interval thread? Expiration interval thread is a expiration interval is a thread. It running on every 1 minute. It will check that how many keys TTL is expired, so those keys going to be deleted. Okay, this is expiration interval thread, and expiration interval, and it is a thread. And expiration interval we can also define as like minute, hours, microsecond, millisecond, minute, nanosecond. Those we can define that. So basically, when I say that what kind of configuration we have, so these like 1, 2, 3, 4. There are four kind of configuration we have in Object Store custom setting. Let me explain persistence. So there is a question come that what happened when we click on persistent, and what happened when we not click on persistent. When we click on persistent, so it basically your all keys are stored in the file system. Your MuleSoft, basically MuleSoft component will use a file system to storage the key, and it basically stored in your disk. It is not stored in the memory when persistent option is clicked or persistent option is true. And what is the advantage of it? The advantage is that when your server is going to be restart, okay, automatically or due to some reason your server is going to be restart, so your key is not going to be deleted. Okay, so that is the advantage of the persistence. So basically any restart happening on the Mule server, so those your key will not be deleted. Okay, when you make persistence unclick or false, then somehow if your Mule runtime is restarted, then your key is going to be deleted. I'm going to show you both example. Basically I have a use cases. In the use cases I have also included this persistence use case as well. Okay, so these are the custom setting we can configure in Object Store. Normally we can configure an Object Store, but based on their values, there are many use cases come. So I'm going to explain one by one use cases. So let me just explain what is that. If entry detail is absent, if we don't define any value 0 or -1, then this will basically no boundaries for the key. Key will not delete it forever. Even if you define the expiration interval running on every 1 minute, if the entry detail is 0 or -1, then there is no expiration for the key. Okay, unit, as you know that we can define unit days, millisecond, minute, seconds, and more. Expiration interval is a thread running based on the time. If max entries and TTL not defined, then it will basically no effect. So if we define this expiration interval thread, then there is no impact. I will show you in a demo. Expiration interval unit is also measured in the days, second, millisecond, and more. Okay, persistence false true. If we are making true, then it will store our key in disk. If we are making false, it is in memory. It's using in heap memory. When the server restart, memory loss, our data is also lost. And max entries, what is that? Max entries is number of key we are going to be remove, and we're going to save, and basically it will remove. Exceeding entry are removed when the expiration thread is running. If absent, no size boundary. For example, if we don't define a max entry, then there will be no size boundary. Okay, number of key we can store. If entry detail is not defined, there is no time boundaries. If max entry is not defined, there no size boundaries. So these are the basically custom configuration, normal custom configuration. Okay, one more thing I have already explained in basically in my previous video that when we are making a persistence disk true, then where basically our entries are going to be stored. So it is mulehome.mule.app, and that object store folder is created. Inside the object store folder, we will able to see our key data. Okay, so let me go to next page. So this is a basically use cases, like 5 use cases I've considered for this demo purpose. Okay, so one more thing I just want to highlight it here. It is not OSB2. Okay, don't confuse with the Object Store V2 service. It is applicable in the Cloud Hub. I will explain you in part 3, but it is purely focused on the our Mule runtime standalone server, okay, which we are running on premises. So those setting apply there. In CloudHub, we have a separate session, part 3 session, where I'm going to explain OSB2 settings. Okay, but these are the basically applied in the on-premises. Okay, yeah, on-premises MuleSoft server. So in the first use cases, as you can see that I am going to set TTL 10 second. So for example, I'm going to store a key 1, key 2, key 3, key 4, key 5, key 6. All keys are 10-second TTL, and the expiration interval thread I'm going to run on 1 minute. So why I've considered this use case, you will get to know that. But let me set a configuration. Okay, so 10-second and 1 minute, and there's no max entry I'm going to define. So what does it mean? It means that there's no limit for the max entries. This entity level define 10-second, and this is as 1 minute. Okay, so let me explain basically what code I have created for the same. So uh, as you know that we have basically a store operation, retrieve all operation, remove operation. So in my code, I have one store operation where I'm going to store the key value pair, and I have one more basically a SUTP retrieve all listener I've also exposed to basically check the retrieve all values, and if I need to remove any key, then I can remove the key. Okay, but apart from that, I have one special basically scheduler to show you that whether our key deleted or not. So basically, this is my scheduler, and this scheduler I'm running basically every second. As you can see that started is 0 and frequency 1 and time unit second. So this scheduler is running on every 1 second. Okay, and when this scheduler is running, it is basically calling up this flow, and this flow is doing basically retrieve all key value pair from the object. So every 1 second we got to know that what is saved inside the key, what is saved inside the object. So, and I'm also retrieving all basically whatever the all information we are storing in the object store, it will basically retrieve the all information. So this is a scheduler running on every 1 second, it retrieve the all information. And this use case is very simple. Okay, let me show you again what configuration we have saved. In this configuration, we saved that entity TL 10-second and expiration interval basically 1 minute. This is a kind of quite long time for the video, but in order to show you how exactly those are working, so that I've just keep the 1 minute, so it will very clear to you. So let me deploy this application in my local. Okay, so one more setting I just want to highlight there. In basically all application I'm going to deploy, in all application I have basically defined one configuration. In this configuration, I just click clear application data never. Okay, so it will never delete my application data. Whatever data we have in the object store, it will consider that application data. Okay, we have another setting as well, always. So what will happen when application start always, so it will delete the existing data, it will also delete the key. So but this setting I'm not defined as I've never, so my application data is not deleted. Okay, so let's wait for deployment. So as you can see that my scheduler is running. Okay, and it will basically run every second, and it will retrieve retrieve all, and as you can see that there's no entry saved. So let me show you again custom configuration. So I have set entry TTL is 10-second. I'm going to store multiple keys, and within 1 second, basically our within basically 10-second, I've set entry TTL is 10 seconds. So basically when 10-second is expired, so basically the key entity TTL is expired, but our expiration interval thread running on every 1 minute, so we are still getting the key. That is what actually I want to show you, that our keys entity detail is already expired. Okay, and as you can see that I'm just running a retrieval operation every 1 second. So all keys which is entity detail is already expired, but apart from that, if we retrieve, we are getting the value because our expiration interval thread is not run yet. If it is not run yet, then it will not delete the key from the object store. So what does it mean? It means that when expiration interval thread is run, then only it will delete the key where the TTL is expired. If expiration interval thread is not run, then we will get key including the entity detail expired or not, it will not impact. Okay, so it is most important to configure. It is most important to configure properly our expiration interval thread. So that's why I have mentioned one note there. It is advised to set expiration interval less value than entity detail. Okay, so let me store some values in it. So I'm going to store key 1, key key 2, key 3. Okay, so as you can see that key 1, key 2, key 3 is coming. Okay, and when the time it is coming from like basically 45, 16 it is coming, like, so as you can see that 7 it is coming from 16 to 7. Let me show you. From 16 second it is coming 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 27. So it's 16 here itself. The 10 second is expired. Okay, but still we are getting a key. Still we are getting a key 1, key 2, key 3, right? We are getting a key 1, key 2. We will not get the key 1, key 2, key 3 when our expiration interval thread run, and it will check that how many key TTL is expired. Then only it will delete the key. So let's wait for the expiration interval thread should be run. Okay. Okay, now expiration interval thread run, then it will delete the all keys. So let me basically stop the server and let me explain that again, what is happening. So the time when we store the key, the time we have stored the key is like 21 second. Okay, so as you know that for the key we have defined TTL is 10 second. Okay, so it should be live for 10 second only. After 10 second, basically after basically if I consider this particular time 21, so basically on 31 we should not get the key. In 32 we should not get the key because our key TTL is already expired. But in 32 we are getting a key, right? It's already 10 second is expired. The 10 second is basically expired, gone. But when 32, 33, 34, 36, 37, those times started, but itself we are getting a key values from the key value from the object store. Why? Because this time the key TTL is expired, but our expiration interval thread is not run. That's why we are getting a key. Okay, but when we are not getting a key, we are not getting a key when our expiration interval thread runs. So it's running on basically 09 this time. So that's why it deleted the all keys where the entry detail is expired. So this is use case 1. Let me show you use case 2. So entry detail 0, expiration interval thread 1 minute. Okay, so let me set the settings. So entry detail I'm going to set 0, and expiration interval for now let me set 30 seconds to save the time. 30 seconds to save the time. So this configuration I made. Okay, so basically what does it mean? It means that even the expiration interval thread is run every 30 seconds, but it will not delete the key because the entity detail is f-send. It is 0. So there is no time boundary for the key. So that's how I'm going to show you that. Okay, so let me deploy this application. Run. Yes, so as you can see that our application is deployed. Okay, so as you know that we have set the basically custom configuration as set 0. So there is no boundary. Our expiration interval thread running on every 30 seconds, but it will ignore the key deletion because entity detail we have defined 0. So let me show you. So I'm going to store again a key 1, key 2, key 3, okay, so let me show you. So as you can see that this time we have all keys, and this as of now we have a 28 second. Okay, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 40. So let's wait for 30 seconds. So when 30 seconds is happening, it will happen on the 29, 58, basically 58 second. When 58 second is happening, then 30 seconds is all over. So as you can see that 52, 53, 54, 56, 57, 58, okay, 59. So as you can see that still we are getting a key. Our expiration interval running on every 30 seconds, but it is not deleting the key because entity TTL is set 0. And so there is no time boundary. Okay, so this is my second use case. So let me basically uh, stop the server, and let me show you use case number 3. So use case number 3 is basically uh, the same, but let me show you use case 4 now. So in use case 4 we will keep the existing setting as it is. Okay, existing setting as it is, entity detail 0 second and expiration interval 30 second, but here I'm going to store I'm going to define a max record 2. Okay, so let me define that. As you know that I'm going to basically this configuration, my object store persistence true, and my application, when my application is restarting, let me show you, my application is restarting, so it will not delete application data because I've clicked on never. So basically my key are exist in the behind the scene as my server is stopped, but my keys are stored in the disk. Okay, so those are not deleted. But now here I'm going to define a max entry 2. Okay, and keep as setting as it is. Entry detail is 0 for the key, and the expiration interval thread running on every 30 second, but max entry I've defined at 2. Okay, what will happen, let me explain you. So basically when expiration interval thread is going to run, okay, when expiration interval thread is going to run, it will check that whether entity detail is defined. Oh, not defined, so it will ignore the key, but it will keep the max key 2 only. Okay, it will keep the max key 2 only because we have defined the max entries for 2. So it will delete the old key. So as of now we can see that we have a key 1, key 2 and key 3 are stored. So key 1 we have stored first, then we have stored key 2, and we have stored key 3. So the which is the key is very old, the old key is key 1. So when the expiration interval thread running, it will delete the key 1 because we have defined entity detail 0, so there is no time boundary for the key. But we have also defined we have not defined entity detail because we have defined entity detail 0, but we have defined max entry 2. So let me deploy this application and show you. Okay, run. So my application is deployed, let me show you. Okay, so as you can see that our key 1 is deleted. Let me store some more keys in it. So I'm going to store basically let me show you first whether key 2 and key 3 is going to delete or not after 30 seconds. Okay, let's count here from 29, 30, 31, 32, 33. When 59 is happening, a 30 second expire, and we're going to check that whether key 2 is key 3 deleted or not. Key 2 and key 3 will not delete it because max entry is 2 we have defined, and the entity detail we define 0. So there's no time boundary for the key, but we are only keeping max entry, max key 2. Okay, 56, 57, 58. Okay, 59, and as you can see that 01 is started. So already 30 seconds is expired, but we have a key 2 and key 3. So let me store key 4, and I'm going to also store key 5. Okay, so as you can see that key 2, key 3, key 4, key 5 are stored, and when expiration interval thread run, it will delete the old key. It will only keep 2 max key. So that's what I'm going to show you. So as you can see that as of now all 4 keys coming. Now as you can see that expiration interval thread at this point of time, and it is only keeping the latest key 4 and key 5. It will delete, it is already deleted a key 2 and key 3. So this is use case basically 4. Let me explain use case 3. So use case 3 is max record 2, entity detail 30 second, and expiration interval thread 5 second. Okay, so in this example, expiration interval thread running on every 5 seconds, so it will delete the key whose TTL is expired, and it will also delete the old key. It will not take care whether the TTL expired or not. Okay, that's what I'm going to explain you. Okay, so let me make my server stop. Yeah, so let me go to global configuration. Let me define what is the setting we have. We have entity detail 30 second. So let me set the setting entity detail 30 second, expiration interval thread running 5 second. Why 5 second? Because I just want to run frequently within 5 seconds this expiration interval thread. Okay, so in every 5 seconds, our expiration interval thread is going to run. It will check that how many key TTL is expired. If it is found any key where the TTL is expired, then it will delete it that. If it is also found that if the object store having more than 2 key, and there is basically, and there is, if there is no TTL is expired, it will remove the old key and it will consider the latest key. And the so maximum, and the maximum 2 entry is going to be considered. For example, there are 3 key are stored, and those 3 key there is no TTL is expired. So it will, when this basically expired interval thread is run, it will delete the basically the very first old one key where the TTL is not expired. So let me show you. I will try to show you this example, but let me run this application. Yeah, so as you can see that my application is deployed as of now in object store. Basically there's no information is saved, and I'm going to store basically a key. Okay, so I'm going to store a key 1, key 2, key 3, key 4. So as you can see that all keys having a basically expiration, basically all key having a TTL is all keys having a TTL is 30 second. But as you can see that uh, within 5 second it will only considering. Let me show you. So basically as you can see that here we have a key 2, key 3, key 4. Okay, but basically this key 2, key 3, or basically let's consider key 2 only. So this key 2 we just stored just now. Okay, and so there is no 30 second is basically happening. So basically as you can see that key 2 we have stored. Let me show you key 2 operation. So key 2 stored at time. Let me show you key 2. So key 2 stored what time we have stored the key 2. So key 2 we have stored around 0031. Okay, this time we have stored key 2. Okay, and what is the time when the key 2 is removed? So let's consider 31, and let me show you what the time when the key 2 is going to be removed. So the time when key 2 is going to be removed here, as you can see that here is basically 47 only. So from 31 to 47, if I minus that from 30, from basically 31 to 47, so there will be only 16 second. Okay, so there will be 16 second only. So within 16 second, as you can see that our key 2 is removed. Within basically 16 second, our key 2 is removed, but key 2 TTL is not expired, but our expiration interval thread is running, and it is checking whose TTL, whose keys TTL is expired. If those key TTL expired, then deleted those. If it is max record is also defined, then only consider the max latest 2 key and delete the old key, and don't care about whether TTL is expired or not for those keys. It will only keep 2 keys. So let me show you again. So my application is running now. So as you can see that every 1 second I'm going to retrieve a data. So let me store again basically key 1 and key 2, and this time I'm going to use key 3. Okay, so as you can see that, so I've stored a key 1, key 2, key 3, and as you can see that the key 1 is deleted, but as of now 30 second is not expired. Okay, because we define that TTL as a 30 second. So what does it mean? It means that when the expiration interval thread run, it will check whose entry TTL is expired. If it is expired, deleted them. If the max entry is also defined, if there are more than 2 keys are there and the TTL is not expired for more than 2 keys, so it will delete the old key. It will consider the latest 2 key only. So basically this is use case 4. Let me explain what is a persistence false. So basically persistence false is nothing but, for example, let me use 0 here when I'm going to use this setting, and this one, let me show you what setting I have enabled. So basically I've enabled that entity detail 0. So basically when expiration interval thread is running, it will not delete the key. So there is no time boundaries, and the max entries also have not defined. So there is no size boundaries for the number of key. But there's one setting I've defined as persistence false. Okay. So what does it mean? It will store the key in memory. When the restart is happening, it will delete the data. So let me just store, once my server is deploying, I'm going to store some keys and I'm going to restart my application. Okay, to show you whether key is there or not. Okay, let's check that. Yeah, it is, my server is running. Let me store some key. Let me store key one. Okay, I'm going to store key one. So let me show you whether it is deleted or not. It will not delete in every 5 seconds because we have defined entity detail as 0. So it will be forever. It will forever. Okay. As persistence false we have defined, so it is forever in the memory. Okay. It is forever in the memory. So let me basically restart my application. Okay. Stop and run again. Yes. So I've run again. So my application is deployed, as you can see that. So my keys are not survive. My key data is not, object store data is not survive after restart. So it will basically having a deleted all when my application is restarted. Why? Because of we have enabled this option as false. So this is basically custom configuration for basically in Mule applications. So if we have this kind of configuration, if we are defining max entry, entity-detail and expiration interval, then how exactly those are affecting in our application. So this is basically all about the application we have defined. So I'm in my next video, part 3, I am going to explain these basically configuration setting for Object Store V2 service. Okay, thank you. Bye bye. When we not defining object store reference configuration or a custom setting, it use a MuleSoft Object Store default configuration, and MuleSoft Object Store default configuration is always persistent, and there is no time boundaries, there is no key boundaries for MuleSoft Object Store. It will use a disk memory spaces for storing all informations. It is I'm talking about the application where it is deployed in on premises. So all on premises application, when we are not defining when we're defining object store configuration or not define object store configuration. So basically these information are stored in the MuleSoft Object Store, and there is a concept called OSV2. So this OSV2 I'm going to explain in my next video.